something strange is happening in Cleveland. And it has nothing to do with the fans, the stadium, or even the scoreboard. It's happening behind closed doors, in meetings that most of us will never see, where decisions about the Browns' future are being made. And right in the middle of all of it is one name, Shedeur Sanders. Now, let's be clear, Shedeur wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to be at the center of media speculation, ownership battles, or locker room tension before he ever got a real chance to prove himself. He was supposed to be another fifth-round rookie quarterback, quietly developing behind veterans, getting a handful of preseason snaps, maybe seeing the field in garbage time during the regular season. That's what usually happens. But Shedeur Sanders? He's not usual. The moment the Browns drafted him, the entire NFL world raised its eyebrows. Why? Because this wasn't a coaching decision. It wasn't a front office strategy. According to multiple reports, this was an owner's pick. Jimmy Haslam saw something in Shedeur Sanders and forced the move, despite his coaching staff already having a development plan centered around another rookie quarterback. Right there, before Shedeur even took a snap, the seeds of a power struggle were planted. And if you know anything about NFL politics, you know that when an owner makes a decision that coaches don't agree with, it almost never ends quietly. It turns into tension, it turns into whispers, and eventually, it turns into sabotage. So here's the big question. Is Shedeur Sanders being set up to fail in Cleveland? Think about what's happened so far. One rough preseason game where Shedeur was sacked 5 times and lost 41 yards instantly turned into headlines questioning if he even belongs in the NFL. Critics ignored the fact that he was playing behind a third-string offensive line, or that he wasn't given the kind of game plan most rookie quarterbacks get when they're being developed. Instead of protecting him, the coaching staff pulled him at the exact moment he could have learned the most before a potential game-winning drive and handed the keys to a backup veteran instead. That's not normal. That's not how you handle a rookie quarterback you actually want to see succeed. That's how you treat someone you never wanted in the first place. And this is where things get interesting, because while the coaches may be trying to bury Shedeur on the depth chart, the man who owns the franchise isn't just watching, he's keeping score. Jimmy Haslam didn't draft Shedeur Sanders just to let him collect dust on the bench. He's already asking for progress reports, he's already applying pressure, and if history tells us anything about Haslam, it's this. When he doesn't get what he wants, people start losing their jobs. So the stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about one rookie quarterback struggling in the preseason. This is about a franchise caught between its owner's vision and its coaching staff's resistance. It's about whether Shedeur Sanders ever truly gets a fair shot or whether he's being sabotaged before his career even begins. And trust me, what's happening in Cleveland right now could shape not only Shedeur's future, but the future of the entire Browns organization. When the Cleveland Browns selected Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round of the NFL draft, most fans thought it was just another late-round flyer on a quarterback. Teams do it all the time, take a chance on a guy with potential, stash him on the depth chart, and hope he develops into something down the line. But this wasn't just another pick. This was a decision that caught even people inside the Browns' own organization by surprise. Reports quickly surfaced that the move didn't come from the coaching staff, and it didn't come from the front office. It came straight from the top, from owner Jimmy Haslam himself. And in the NFL, when the owner steps in to personally draft a player, especially a quarterback, it sends shockwaves through the building. Because now, every coach and every executive knows exactly whose player this is. He isn't ours, he's the owner's. That matters more than people realize. The Browns' general manager, Andrew Berry, and head coach Kevin Stefanski had spent months preparing their own quarterback development plan. They were set on bringing in Dillon Gabriel, a rookie they believed they could mold. The strategy was simple. Focus their attention, reps, and resources on Gabriel while letting veterans like Joe Flacco hold things down early in the season. Then, almost out of nowhere, Haslam forced Shedeur Sanders into the equation. On the surface, it might sound like a luxury problem 2 young quarterbacks to develop instead of 1, but in reality, quarterback development is all about time, trust, and patience. Every snap in practice, every rep in meetings, every coaching resource is valuable. Splitting that between 2 rookies doesn't just slow things down, it creates tension. Now, the staff isn't following their plan, they're following the owner's mandate. And if there's one thing NFL coaches hate, it's losing control of their own blueprint. The resentment started almost immediately. Behind the scenes, reports suggested some staffers viewed Shedeur as an unwelcome addition, not because of who he was personally, but because of the circus that came with his name. Being Deion Sanders' son guaranteed media attention. Every snap, every throw, every mistake would be dissected on social media. And to a coaching staff that wanted quiet development, that spotlight felt more like a distraction than an opportunity. But Jimmy Haslam didn't care about distractions. He cared about talent. He'd already lived through the chaos of Deshaun Watson's contract and seen stopgap veterans like Joe Flacco come and go. He wanted something real, something he could stake the franchise's future on. And when he saw Shedeur Sanders sitting there in the fifth-round quarterback with over 4,000 passing yards and 37 touchdowns in college, he wasn't going to let him slip away. In one bold move, Haslam set the stage for a season filled with tension. He drafted his guy, his potential franchise quarterback, even if it meant forcing his coaches to juggle conflicting priorities. And whether the staff wanted it or not, the Browns' quarterback room had officially become ground zero for a power struggle. The first real test for Shedeur Sanders came under the bright lights of a preseason matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. For most rookies, preseason is exactly what it sounds like, a time to learn, to make mistakes, and to start building confidence in live NFL action. But for Shedeur, it was different. Every snap felt like it was under a microscope. Every dropback was another chance for critics to pounce. And on that night, the numbers were brutal. 14 dropbacks, 5 sacks, -27 passing yards, a total of 41 yards lost when the dust settled. To the casual fan, it looked like a disaster. The highlight reels weren't filled with tight window completions or flashes of brilliance. They were filled with Shedeur spinning in the pocket, trying to escape defenders, and going down hard behind the line of scrimmage. Within hours, headlines started flying across sports media. Shedeur Sanders overwhelmed in NFL debut. Browns rookie looks lost against Rams defense. But here's the part they don't tell you. Shedeur wasn't out there with the Browns' first-team offense. He wasn't even working behind the second-team line. He was playing with third-stringers guys who, in many cases, were fighting for their own roster spots. The protection wasn't just shaky, it was non-existent. And yet, instead of pointing out the circumstances, the narrative immediately turned into, Shedeur isn't ready, and maybe the Browns wasted a draft pick. Think about it. How many rookie quarterbacks have been thrown into the fire like that and come out looking polished? Josh Allen struggled early in Buffalo. Lamar Jackson was criticized for his accuracy before he ever won an MVP. Even Patrick Mahomes, who's now the gold standard in the NFL, didn't see the field much as a rookie because the Chiefs knew he needed time. Development isn't about instant perfection, it's about putting young quarterbacks in situations where they can grow. And that's exactly what Shedeur didn't get. What made it worse was the way the Browns coaching staff handled the situation. Instead of letting Shedeur work through the adversity, instead of giving him the chance to bounce back with a final drive, they pulled him from the game. When the Browns had a chance to mount a game-winning possession, the ball wasn't in Shedeur's hands. It was given to Tyler Huntley, a late addition to the roster who wasn't even supposed to factor heavily into the team's long-term plans. To fans watching at home, it felt strange. To Shedeur's supporters, it felt deliberate. Why rob your rookie of the exact type of reps that help a young quarterback learn? Why deny him the pressure moment every competitor craves? Was it coaching strategy or was it something else entirely? One bad game should have been nothing more than a footnote in a long rookie season, but in Cleveland, it became ammunition. To the media, it was proof of the critics' doubts. To the coaching staff, it was justification for burying him deeper on the depth chart. And to the owner who believed in him, it was the first sign that his coaches might not be giving Shedeur Sanders a fair chance. For most rookie quarterbacks, the preseason isn't about winning or losing. It's about experience getting those live reps under pressure, making mistakes, and learning from them in real time. Coaches always talk about teachable moments, and nothing creates a better teachable moment than a 2-minute drill with the game on the line. It's the kind of situation that builds confidence, that lets a young quarterback prove he belongs, even in a meaningless preseason game. But when that moment came for Shedeur Sanders against the Rams, it wasn't his. Instead of letting the rookie finish what he started, head coach Kevin Stefanski made a puzzling decision. With just minutes left and the Browns needing a drive, Stefanski yanked Shedeur from the field and sent in Tyler Huntley. Suddenly, the most valuable opportunity of the night, arguably the only moment where Shedeur could showcase poise under pressure, was taken away. Huntley, a journeyman backup, got the chance. Shedeur? He was left standing on the sideline, helmet in hand, watching. On paper, it doesn't sound like much. It's only preseason, right? But the message it sent was loud and clear. By pulling Shedeur in that moment, the coaching staff wasn't just protecting him from another sack. They were denying him the exact reps that rookie quarterbacks are supposed to get. They were sending a signal, whether intentional or not, that he wasn't ready, that they didn't trust him with the ball in crunch time. To Shedeur's supporters, it felt like a slap in the face. Why draft him if you're not going to let him grow? Why bring him into the organization only to treat him like an afterthought when the lights come on? The move sparked immediate debate across NFL circles. Was this standard development, or was it something else? Many fans saw it for what it was, a questionable decision at best, and at worst, a deliberate attempt to keep Shedeur from building momentum. Because imagine if he had led that drive. Imagine if, after a rough night of sacks and negative yards, Shedeur had strung together a handful of completions and marched the Browns downfield. That would have been the story. That would have been the clip replayed on sports shows the next morning. Instead, that chance never came. And here's the part that stings the most. Tyler Huntley wasn't even supposed to be in Cleveland long-term. His signing was already confusing, viewed by some insiders as insurance to make sure Shedeur didn't rack up too many snaps. So when Huntley got the nod over Shedeur in the game's defining moment, it only fueled the suspicion that something bigger was happening behind the scenes. For a fifth-round rookie trying to prove himself, that moment could have changed the narrative. Instead, it became another example of what critics are calling passive-aggressive coaching. Not open hostility, not outright sabotage, but subtle decisions that add up to the same outcome, keeping Shedeur Sanders from ever getting the fair shot his talent deserves. The NFL is no stranger to conspiracy theories. Fans talk about rigged games, biased refs, even league-wide agendas. Most of it gets dismissed as noise. But when Shedeur Sanders slipped all the way to the 5th round of the draft, despite throwing for over 0 yards and 37 touchdowns in college, people started asking questions. How does a quarterback with that kind of production, that kind of pedigree, fall behind names most casual fans have never even heard of? That's when whispers of a code red began circulating. According to reports, multiple teams had Shedeur rated higher on their draft boards. Yet one after another, they passed. Some cited character concerns, that vague label teams love to use when they don't want to be specific. But in the NFL, character concerns can often mean something else entirely: distractions, media spotlight, or in this case, the unavoidable attention that comes with being Deion Sanders' son. Think about it. Drafting Shedeur doesn't just bring a quarterback into your building, it brings cameras, it brings headlines. It brings constant speculation about whether his legendary father is pulling strings behind the scenes. For risk-averse franchises, that was enough to scare them off. And if enough front offices quietly agreed that they didn't want that circus, well, you start to see how a code red might not be so far-fetched after all. But here's where the story gets even more tangled. The Browns broke that silent agreement. Owner Jimmy Haslam ignored the noise and grabbed Shedeur in the 5th round. To him, the risk was worth it. He saw untapped talent and potential star power. But to a coaching staff that never wanted him, picking Shedeur wasn't bold, it was disruptive. And from that moment forward, every decision the Browns made with him looked suspicious under the conspiracy lens. Why was Tyler Huntley signed out of nowhere, just weeks before the preseason? Why did Shedeur get yanked from the game-winning drive instead of being allowed to learn? Why was he running with third-string linemen instead of being given at least a few reps with starters? To fans and insiders paying attention, these weren't just random coaching calls. They looked like carefully orchestrated moves to keep the owner's draft pick in check. Now, let's be clear. There's no smoking gun here. No secret memo from NFL headquarters saying, "Don't draft Shedeur Sanders." But when enough insiders and former players start suggesting that something doesn't add up, it's hard to ignore. And it's not just about the draft anymore. It's about what's happening now, in Cleveland's own building. Because if you believe the conspiracy theorists, Shedeur isn't just fighting defenses on the field. He's fighting a hidden resistance inside his own team coaches and executives, quietly making sure he never gets the opportunity to prove Jimmy Haslam right. And if that's true, then this isn't just a quarterback controversy. It's a battle for control of the Browns' future. Every NFL franchise has an owner, but not every franchise has an owner like Jimmy Haslam. In Cleveland, his reputation is well known. He's hands-on, unpredictable, and sometimes far too involved in football decisions that most organizations leave to their general managers and coaches. Some Browns fans call it passion, others call it meddling. Either way, Haslam's shadow looms large over everything the team does. So when he made the call to draft Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, it wasn't just a football move, it was a statement. He went against the grain, ignoring the skepticism of scouts, coaches, and executives across the league. For Haslam, Shedeur wasn't just another rookie quarterback. He was a potential star, a chance to inject life into a franchise that's been defined more by heartbreak than success. And Haslam wasn't shy about showing his excitement. Rumors suggest he pushed hard for Shedeur, even when the front office had other prospects in mind. That single decision instantly created friction. Coaches like Kevin Stefanski now had to manage a player they didn't choose, a player the owner wanted. And in the NFL, nothing creates more tension inside a building than an owner forcing a pick. Suddenly, every move around Shedeur, every rep he got, every series he played was under the microscope. Was he on the field because the coaches believed in him, or because Haslam demanded it? It's a no-win situation. If Stefanski plays him and Shedeur struggles, critics say the owner's pet project is dragging the team down. If he doesn't play him, the narrative becomes sabotage proof that the coaching staff is undermining the owner's wishes. Either way, the Browns are stuck in a tug-of-war, with a rookie quarterback caught in the middle. And it's not like Haslam has the cleanest history when it comes to his influence on the team. He's been accused before of pressuring football decisions, from big-money signings that flopped to coaching hires that didn't pan out. For some analysts, Shedeur's situation feels like just another chapter in the ongoing saga of an owner who can't resist putting his fingerprints on the roster. But here's where things get tricky. Haslam's support is both Shedeur's biggest blessing and his biggest curse. On one hand, it guarantees that Sanders won't just fade quietly into the background. He has powerful backing, and that kind of backing can keep a player on the roster even when coaches might prefer otherwise. On the other hand, it paints a massive target on his back. Every stumble, every mistake is magnified. Because for the coaching staff, proving the owner wrong could feel like a win in itself. That's the reality of life under Haslam's shadow. For Shedeur Sanders, it means his career in Cleveland isn't just about football, it's about politics, power struggles, and the constant question of who's really in control of the Browns' future. And as the preseason drama unfolds, one thing is certain: this story isn't just about a rookie quarterback, it's about an organization at war with itself. In the NFL, the phrase "playing for the future" gets thrown around a lot. But for head coaches like Kevin Stefanski, the future doesn't matter if the present crumbles. Every Sunday is a test. Every season, a make-or-break audition. Coaches know that if they don't win now, there may not even be a tomorrow to plan for. And that's exactly why Shedeur Sanders has become such a complicated figure inside the Browns' locker room. On paper, Sanders represents hope. He's young, talented, and comes from one of football's most iconic bloodlines. His ceiling is sky high, and if developed properly, he could be the franchise quarterback that Cleveland fans have been craving for decades. But to the coaching staff, the idea of development is a luxury they can't afford. They're in survival mode, desperate to stack wins and keep their jobs in a league that chews up coaches and spits them out. That's where the tension explodes. Developing Shedeur means growing pains. It means mistakes on the field, misreads, and interceptions that can cost games. To fans, those mistakes might feel acceptable in the name of building for the future. To Stefanski and his staff, they're potentially career-ending. Every loss strengthens the whispers that maybe the Browns should look for a new coach, a new direction. And if Shedeur is part of those losses, even indirectly, then he becomes a liability instead of a project. This is why so many analysts believe the staff has kept him on a tight leash. By limiting his snaps, by surrounding him with backup linemen, by pulling him at critical moments, the coaches are protecting themselves. It's not about Shedeur's long-term growth, it's about minimizing immediate risk. Because for them, handing the keys to an unproven rookie could backfire in catastrophic fashion. But here's the catch: ownership and fans don't think like coaches. Jimmy Haslam sees the long-term vision, the star power, the marketing potential. Fans see the spark, the swagger, the possibility that Sanders could be the next big thing. To them, holding him back feels like sabotage. And that growing divide between what the coaches want and what the franchise's future demands is pushing Cleveland toward a breaking point. This clash isn't new in the NFL. History is filled with stories of coaches resisting the future in order to save their own jobs. But rarely has the divide been so public, so obvious. Every time Sanders is benched, every time Tyler Huntley gets the nod instead, the message is clear: the coaching staff is betting on today, not tomorrow. The real question is how long this balance can hold. Because eventually, ownership and the fan base may decide that protecting the present at the cost of the future is unacceptable. And when that moment comes, someone will have to pay the price. The Browns aren't just fighting opponents on the field, they're fighting a civil war between short-term survival and long-term destiny. And at the center of it all stands Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback torn between two timelines. For all the noise swirling around the Cleveland Browns front office politics, coaching tensions, and owner interference, one thing is hard to deny. Shedeur Sanders has talent. From the moment he stepped on the field, the flashes were there. Quick release, strong pocket presence, and that innate ability to extend plays with his legs traits you just can't teach. Even in a limited preseason role, scouts have pointed out the moments where he looked like he belonged, making throws that veterans struggle to hit under pressure. But talent alone doesn't write an NFL career. Timing and patience do, and patience might be the hardest thing for Shedeur to embrace right now. He's been a star his whole life at Jackson State, then Colorado, and now thrust into the NFL spotlight. Waiting his turn, watching from the sideline, and taking orders that may feel more political than football-related, that's not an easy pill to swallow. Still, patience is exactly what separates young quarterbacks who flame out from those who eventually take over a franchise. Many of the greats, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, even Tom Brady, had to wait behind veterans, soaking in the speed of the league before stepping into their moment. For Shedeur, the challenge isn't just waiting, it's waiting in the middle of a storm. His situation isn't a clean developmental arc with a stable mentor ahead of him. Instead, he's watching a coaching staff play tug-of-war with his future, while fans demand answers and the media spins every snap into a headline. And yet, patience doesn't mean passivity. Behind the scenes, insiders say Sanders has been grinding in practice, studying film relentlessly, and proving that he's not just a flashy name. His teammates reportedly respect his work ethic and confidence, two qualities that earn trust in an NFL locker room. It's those intangibles, the quiet leadership and resilience, that could allow him to weather the storm until his time truly comes. The irony is that the very chaos around him could become the fire that sharpens his edge. Being doubted, being benched, being treated as a project instead of a priority, these experiences can either break a player's spirit or fuel them to prove everyone wrong. Shedeur has a chance to show patience not as weakness, but as a weapon. By controlling what he can control and biding his time, he can turn frustration into fuel. And fans? They're watching closely. The glimpses of his talent have already sparked debates online, with many arguing it's only a matter of time before Sanders forces his way onto the field. But how long will he wait? How long can the Browns hold him back before patience runs out and pressure takes over? For Shedeur Sanders, patience may feel like the hardest challenge of his young career. But if he can balance his talent with discipline and composure, his moment will come, and when it does, it might just change everything for the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are standing at a crossroads, and so is Shedeur Sanders. Every practice, every preseason snap, and every media headline adds weight to the question, what happens next? Because this isn't just about one rookie quarterback, it's about the identity of an entire franchise. The coaching staff has made their stance clear. They want to play it safe, trust their system, and avoid gambling their jobs on a young, unproven prospect. But the pressure to win now won't last forever. If the Browns stumble out of the gate, if the offense looks stagnant, or if the veteran quarterbacks can't move the chains, the calls for Shedeur will grow louder. Fans won't just be asking, they'll be demanding. And ownership, always aware of public perception, may decide that the safest move is actually the riskiest, turning the keys over to a rookie. But even if Shedeur does get his shot, the path ahead won't be smooth. The NFL is brutal on young quarterbacks, and the spotlight in Cleveland is merciless. If he struggles, the same fans who begged for him could turn in frustration. If he succeeds, the ripple effects could be massive coaching changes, roster reshuffling, and a franchise built entirely around his style of play. In either case, the Browns' future will shift dramatically the moment Sanders steps under center. Behind the scenes, there are already whispers of friction building. Some believe Stefanski and his staff may not survive the season if results don't come quickly, especially if the owner feels Shedeur is being wasted on the bench. Others wonder if Sanders' camp, backed by his legendary father Dion, might start applying pressure of their own, pushing for opportunities and making it clear that patience has limits. These aren't just football decisions anymore. They're political, personal, and cultural battles playing out under the bright lights of the NFL. And that's what makes the What's Next so fascinating. It's not just about X's and O's, it's about narratives colliding, a coaching staff fighting for survival, an owner dreaming of a star-driven future, a fan base desperate for hope, and a young quarterback caught in the middle, trying to prove that his talent isn't just hype. So, what's coming next? Expect drama. Expect noise. Expect that every snap Shedeur takes or doesn't take will be dissected across sports talk shows and social media. Expect speculation about coaching changes, quarterback controversies, and even trade rumors if things spiral. But above all, expect Shedeur Sanders to eventually get his chance. Because in the NFL, talent like his doesn't sit quietly forever. The only real question is timing. Will it be this season, in the heat of desperation, or will it come later, after the dust settles and a new vision takes over? Either way, one thing is clear. Shedeur Sanders' story in Cleveland is just beginning, and the next chapter could be the most explosive one yet. At the end of it all, the saga of Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns isn't just another NFL storyline, it's a mirror of what makes football so captivating. It's never just about the plays on the field. It's about the politics behind the scenes, the battles for control, the whispers of sabotage, and the tug-of-war between talent and timing. And for Shedeur, every step so far has been a test, not of whether he has the ability, but whether the people around him will allow that ability to shine. We've seen it before. Great players trapped in messy franchises, forced to fight not just opponents on Sundays, but also the internal dysfunction of their own organizations. And sometimes, that kind of storm either forges greatness or shatters careers before they even begin. The big question lingering over Shedeur Sanders is simple. Which side of history will he fall on? One thing we know for certain is this. He has the tools. The arm strength, the vision, the mobility, he checks every box. But greatness in the NFL has never been about physical tools alone. It's about patience, resilience, and seizing the moment when it finally arrives. That's where Shedeur's journey becomes truly compelling. Because right now, he's stuck between two worlds, the promise of what he could become and the reality of being benched, questioned, and underestimated. Yet, maybe this is exactly the path he needs. Every snap he waits, every headline he reads, every doubt that gets thrown his way, it's all fuel. History has shown us that quarterbacks who face adversity early often become the most dangerous once they're unleashed. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3. Tom Brady was ignored until injury gave him his shot. Could Shedeur Sanders be next in that line of stories, the overlooked, the underestimated, who later rewrote history? And make no mistake, this isn't just about Cleveland. This is about legacy. Shedeur doesn't carry only his own name, but the weight of being Deion Sanders' son, a symbol of swagger and expectation. Every move he makes will be magnified, every success celebrated, every mistake criticized. That pressure could break most rookies, but Shedeur seems built for it. Calm, composed, unshaken by the noise. So where does it all go from here? That's the beauty of this story we don't know yet. Maybe the Browns finally hand him the reins this season, and the NFL witnesses the birth of a star. Maybe he bides his time, learning, sharpening, waiting until the perfect moment to strike. Either way, his story is far from over. In fact, it's only just beginning. Because for all the drama, the politics, and the chaos, one truth cuts through the noise. Talent always finds a way to the field. And when Shedeur Sanders finally gets his chance, whether in Cleveland or elsewhere, you can bet the football world will be watching. The only question left is, will he rise, or will the Browns' dysfunction drag him down? If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.